Welcome to the Self-Storage Show, where I have conversations with my industry friends, talk with owners and vendors, and share tales about my management company, 3 Mile Storage. Let's go. Hey everyone, so I just finished putting together this new book, 3 Mile Storage Management, 3 Zones of Excellence. This is our framework for success in self-storage. Want a free copy? Okay, here's the deal. Book a strategy session with me. Together we're going to walk your business through the 3 Zones of Excellence framework. And I've done countless sessions like these over the years with many self-storage owners. I guarantee you that together, we're going to reveal some ways to increase your leads, rentals, and revenue. So go to 3milestorage.com and book your time today. Hi everyone, this is Jim Ross with the Self-Storage Show. I can continue the interview series here we've been doing. Got Joe Doherty with me today. He's the Chief Legal and Legislative Officer for the Self-Storage Association. What's going on, Joe?
Hey Jim, good morning.
Nice to catch up with you and see you a little bit last week at the Utah Self-Storage Association. I know you're bouncing around everywhere.
Yeah, Utah, Idaho, got Nebraska coming up and South Dakota, so kind of a Midwestern and Western swing. A little tough for an East Coast guy, but
yeah. Well, at least you're headed before the snow starts to fall.
Yeah.
Colorado last week started getting dumped on. Like, oh, that's even the worst when you start traveling. Traveling's already kind of hard, but you had weather on top of it. It's like, nope, I'm out. That's how that goes. If you don't mind, let's just kind of start off with just, tell us a little about yourself and maybe how you kind of got into the storage industry, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. So I have been with the Self-Storage Association about 6 years now, handling our legal and legislative needs. So for the kind of an outward facing role, I go to state capitals and lobby for changes to self-storage laws, whether that's lien laws or insurance laws, and then trying to prevent bad laws from passing. And we can touch on what some of those are as we get into this. But I've got a good team of folks that we work with here at the Self-Storage Association. My colleagues Daniel Bryant and my predecessor Tim Dietz, and then our state association partners as well. So they deserve a lot of the credit for what we're going to talk about today.
Nice. When it comes to legal stuff, you better have a good team.
Yeah.
One person doing all this. So how does that work? I mean, with all the different states, do you focus on one state at a time, or you just kind of see what pops up and what needs your attention? How does that work?
Yes, it's a couple different ways. If it's a defensive thing, so something bad's going to happen to us, we have to go after that, whether we were prepared to do it or not. If it's offensive, so we set an agenda at the association and in consultation with the states and our board with, hey, here are our target states. And that might be anywhere from a bottom of, say, 20 or so to up to about 25 states. And we just look, okay, well, what needs to be done in those states? Do they still require newspaper advertising? Do they have a late fee provision? Those type of things. And just kind of go through and check the different boxes in the different states. And sometimes it's an easy one and done type of thing. And then other times, like Florida, I think we've been at trying to eliminate the advertising requirement there for probably close to 10 years now. So,
oh my gosh,
both long-term and short-term projects.
So what, I mean, maybe paint the picture a little bit. What's it like when you go to, so you're there, like you're in court and you give your case, and then like these other lobbyists, like the newspaper guys, give their case and you battle it out, or what is it like?
Yeah, that's sometimes how it's set up. And then other times it's kind of the proverbial smoke-filled back room, although the back room is not really filled with smoke so much these days. But it's before the hearing, you hash all this stuff out, and then the hearing's just kind of, okay, here's the bill, let's vote. And it really varies from state to state, but there are those states that's exactly the way you describe it. You go into a hearing room that kind of looks like a courtroom, and there are people up there legislators who are going to question you, and you have to be prepared to defend yourself. And especially with the newspapers, you have to be prepared to combat what I will euphemistically call lies
Really?
from the newspaper industry, and I'm happy to touch on that a little bit more. But it's
Please.
they're our biggest opponent on anything we do by far.
No, yeah, please expand on that with the newspapers because I look at it like, shouldn't that have been like 15 years ago? Like, we don't need to worry about advertising a newspaper anymore. I mean, who reads a newspaper? I don't know anyone who gets it anymore. That's crazy. You get that much pushback still.
Yeah, so the saying goes, "Don't fight someone who buys ink by the barrel." And
Hmm.
even though papers are closing, they still have a lot of sway in the local communities.
Yeah, yeah.
It's in endorsements and whether they're going to write something critical or supportive of a politician running for office. They know all those different levers, and whether they don't always like to admit it, but the revenue they get nowadays with so much moving online
Which,
is from the what they call the captive audiences, the people who have to advertise. So it's self-storage, it's local government, it's banks and other type of lenders. They are required by law to still advertise in the paper, and in a lot of these states, it's basically the Charlton Heston line of you can pull this from my cold dead hand, and that's how they feel about newspaper advertising.
well, they know they're grasping onto the last thread of existence, frankly. Once
Yeah.
that once that revenue dries up, yeah, they're kind of gone. How many? If you know off the top of your head, I'm just curious. Like, what's kind of percentage wise of people that still have to advertise in the newspaper the old fashioned way versus just online or via email?
Yeah, so it's over 30 states now have eliminated the advertising requirement completely.
It's more than I
And
thought.
then of those 18 or so that are remaining, about seven of them only require one ad, and then the other 11 or so still require two ads. The most recent significant change was moving California from two down to one, and that's huge in a
Huge
state
for them.
like California. Yeah,
Yeah, that's been a fight for a long time that I've been watching.
it has. Yeah, Florida, California, Georgia. There are some states where it's just been a real uphill battle. So I'm pleased with what we're able to get done working with the CSSA to reform some things in California, and hope that we're able to go back in the not too distant future here and get rid of that remaining ad.
No, that's great. So when in doing this with your team, I'm just kind of curious. Again, I'm just learning as we're talking here. What's kind of like an average work day for you guys? You just kind of focusing on one certain aspect or kind of things in general?
I would say usually things in general. So this time of year, it's planning out what we're going to do for next year, and
Gotcha.
what states do we want to be active in, what issues do we want to be active on, and having discussions internally with our external folks at the state associations, with state lobbyists we work with our board. Just lot of discussion and kind of hashing out where we want to be active, and then actually putting together the language that we'd like to see. So that's kind of what this time of year looks like. And then in addition to all the state shows that we go to
Yeah.
talk about what we've been able to accomplish. And then about January to May, we'll say, sometimes a little leakage on either side of that, is actually going to these state capitals and advocating for the changes that we want. So that's testifying, that's meeting with different legislators, it's meeting with supporters, with opponents, and seeing what we can accomplish from our agenda.
Interesting. I wonder how much of that from like a legislative standpoint with when talking with legislators, I would imagine a lot of it's like educating them, right? I mean, it's not like most of them are reading the lean laws when they're trying to go to sleep at night. You got to educate them on what's going on with self storage. I would imagine.
Yeah, that's a big piece of it, and
Yeah.
that's true of both the offense and the defensive work we do. That I think most legislators want to do a good job, and they want to represent their constituents, and they
Yeah.
want laws that make sense, and all of that good stuff. But there are, whether it's just a lack of knowledge or it's misconceptions or preconceived notions,
Yeah.
we educate about, and I think that's probably our biggest role is educating legislators about what these changes mean, and in many cases actually putting a real face on it. So
Yeah.
in a way, I'm not a real face. A real face is someone like you manage storage facilities, or folks who own storage facilities, or the insurance folks in the industry, and legislators want to hear from those type of folks rather than always hearing from people like me.
Yeah. Or their perception is I hear this a lot. I've talked with other lawyers, is the storage wars perception.
Yeah.
That's all they know about storage, is we're out there and just trying to sell people stuff to make a buck. Like, that's not it's not what it's about. It's not what we
Yeah.
do. Kind of getting over that hump. So I'm just kind of curious, like, as you're kind of looking at things for the agenda of this upcoming year, is there another kind of thing you're looking at besides the newspapers, or that's kind of area of focus?
Yeah, so the couple of items that we're looking at that are new. So we had 7 traditional items that we pursued, and we've accomplished a lot of those. And
Hmm.
the big one being the newspapers, the other big one being getting rid of certified mail requirements. That's
Yeah,
almost
big one.
universally adopted. Towing's another
Right.
one, almost universally adopted. But we are looking at a couple of other provisions to add to these laws. Two major ones being, what do you do when you have a tenant who's at your storage facility and they haven't signed an agreement? Say perhaps
Yeah.
you've amended your agreement because you've taken over a facility, or you have amended your agreement to handle a change in the law. How do you, and you can't get everybody to actually sign, what do you do? So we're trying to get some language that addresses that point. And then the other one, I think we've especially seen this become more problematic after the pandemic, is misbehaving tenants, troublesome tenants, whatever you want to call them. People who are there at all hours of the day, perhaps they're sleeping in the unit, they're harassing your manager, they're causing problems for other tenants, but they're paying. And so what do you do with those folks when you ask them to leave, you send them a notice to leave, and they don't? What do you do? And the process now is usually you have to go to court to evict them.
Yeah.
You know, you get in front of a judge and they're like, what's this? A self-storage eviction? That doesn't make sense. I don't understand what's going on. So we'd like to have a remedy that's outside of court to handle that, similar to the lien process, although you wouldn't have a lien on the property because a lien's about monetary debt.
Yeah.
But being able to address it in a similar way, notice, and then either selling or disposing of the property if the person doesn't leave.
That would be nice. Because I guess I could probably sit there for the next 3 hours and tell you all sorts of stories about taking over locations that have all those in one. You know, it has there's no contracts that exist. You know, the contracts are in some drawer with a sticky tab with a name on it with number 44. Like, what does this mean? So yeah, that would be nice to have some sort of a backup when, especially when you're taking over those kind of locations. Because man, I see it all the time. And then speaking of the guys that are there just hanging out all the time, I'm going through that right now. One of the sites that I manage, I've had to call the cops 5 times, something like that now, of getting them escorted them off, and they take him off the property. And all of a sudden, there he's back again. It's like I'm 2 seconds away from calling Guido and just being like, all right, throw him in the back of a truck and take him off the premises, because it's driving me nuts. I can't, yeah, it's so it'd be nice to be able to have some sort of legal standpoint being like, look, here it is. Yeah, get them off. So,
Right.
right. There's a
Yeah,
tangent.
yeah. So it's these type of conversations, Jim, that lead us to come to these additional items that we're talking about. So I'd say to you and your audience, if there are other things like, hey, I've got this problem's always coming up. I've got people, for example, trespassing at my facility. They're just dumping stuff in a unit and I don't know who they are, or any number of other issues that might come up. I'd encourage you and your audience to let me know about that. Be happy to take a look at what we might be able to do legislatively.
Well, how would they reach out to you if you're offering? There you go.
Yeah, of course. Uh, I'm also going to promote membership in our association because I think
For
that's just
sure.
vitally
That's
important. So
yeah.
go to selfstorage.org. You can become a member there. You can also look up our staff directory. You'll see me, a younger face of me, but it's me. And
I was going to mention that. I saw your profile picture. Like, all right, dude, time to update.
yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
So yeah, my email's easy. It's J Doherty, Doherty at selfstorage.org.
That makes it easy. Yeah, with the Self Storage Association, I mean, been preaching that for years and years to be involved in it. It's not just a matter of just here, I wrote a check and now I'm a member. No, I mean, become part of your state associations. You go to those meetings. I mean, like the one I was just at, when we were just at for Utah. Yeah, it might have been kind of small but mighty. And just in the people that were there, I was watching them make these connections and talking, and that's how you learn. And it'll just kind of continue and grow from there. So, yeah, that's something I've talked about for many, many years, and hopefully we'll keep talking about it. But for the Self Storage Association, there's a lot that they offer. And I know we're just kind of scratching the surface on what they do, but there's a lot there when you go to that website, start checking things out. Last question, I guess, before we take off here, because I know we could probably talk for hours and hours about different aspects and cases and things like that. But for the people that are listening to this, is there one kind of major takeaway that they could take action on or educate themselves about as a self-storage owner? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I actually say two. Beyond being a member of the association, this is something I've mentioned to folks pretty much every time I do a call like this or when we're at a state association meeting. Do not go cheap on your rental agreement. I think there's maybe a little bit of a reputation in the industry of being a little cheap with your with how you handle things from a legal perspective. Your rental agreement is going to be both your sword and your shield. So it's going to be what you can rely on if you have a tenant causing problems, and you can say, hey, look, here it says you can't live in the unit, you can't store food, whatever it might be. And it's also the shield that if a tenant comes back and sues you, you can say, look at everything I told you in the rental agreement. Look, it says you can't store property worth more than $5,000, or you're responsible for insuring your own property, whatever it might be. And I don't do this work myself, so this isn't me promoting my business or anything like that, but it's something I see at the state level. Like, oh, where'd you get that? Oh, I don't know, I printed it off the internet, or my cousin Sam, who's a criminal defense lawyer, wrote it for me. Like, please don't do that. Hire a real self-storage attorney to get this. You have a multi-million-dollar investment. Be smart about it. That's point one. Point two, on the legislative. Again, please reach out to us if you have any comments about areas where you'd like to see us focus. But beyond that, be prepared to hear from us in your state association, your national association, in advocating in front of your legislators. It can be something as easy as making a phone call, sending an email. It's not necessarily traveling to your state capitol and testifying, although that's certainly great, and we'd love people to do that. Yeah. But really, any way you can help, please be prepared to do that. And it can literally be, as crazy as this sounds, it can be one phone call, one email, one text to a legislator that makes the difference. Legislators file bills that are potentially harmful to us based on one or two complaints from their constituents. On the other side of things, they support us based on one or two asks from constituents. It's not difficult to do, but I think a lot of people just say, "Oh, yeah, Joe and Daniel and Tim, they've got it. I don't need to help." But we do need that help, and so I very much encourage folks to keep an eye out on your email and help out when we need it.
Good. Well, anytime there's another issue like that comes up and need a little need to rally the troops, let me know. We'll come back. We'll do another one of these things and blast it out. We'll get some support when it comes to that kind of stuff for sure. All right. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for taking the time. We'll do this again, man.
Okay, great. Well, good seeing you, Jim. Thanks for your time.
Take care. Before we wrap up, just a quick reminder. Do you want to level up your storage game? Visit theselfstorageshow.com. Grab some high-value freebies, check out top vendor spotlights, and stay in the loop with our newsletter. Do you want to chat about becoming a client with 3 Mile Storage Management? All the info's there. Plus, if you've got a story to share, we're listening. Everything you need is at theselfstorageshow.com.